Hello, my name is Simon Zutshi, and in this video, I want to share with you the 22 questions you should ask property sellers. Now, actually, there are 13 key questions and then 9 follow-on questions that most investors wouldn't even think about asking or dream asking. And once you know these questions, you're going to get a competitive advantage and be able to do more property deals. Now, these questions are actually taken from episode number 37 of my Property Magic podcast. And if you haven't subscribed to that, you might want to go and check it out on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify and just download Property Magic podcast. There's hours and hours of free content on there that I think you'll find really valuable. So who am I? Well, I'm Simon Zutshi. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, which is the largest network of property meetings around the UK. I'm the author of Property Magic, the #1 Amazon bestseller. We've sold over 100,000 copies over the last 12 years. And I've helped a lot of people just like you become successful investors. And I do these YouTube videos because I want to give you as much free content as I can to help you on your property journey. So here are the 22 questions that you should ask every seller. The first one, when I'm speaking to someone about the property, I want to understand who owns the property. I want to understand if I'm actually speaking to the owner who is the decision maker. That's really important because sometimes you might get a call from a friend or a brother or an uncle or someone who owns the property. You want to speak to the decision maker. So make sure who actually owns the property. If a couple own the property, you want to speak to both of them at the same time. Question number 2, when did you buy the property? I want to understand, is this something they bought recently and for some reason they're selling it? Something they had a very long time, which maybe means there's going to be some really good capital growth over time. When did they buy the property? I'm really interested if they bought it around 2007, 2008, because there's a really good chance they bought it at the peak of the last property market. And obviously, as we know, prices came down. In most parts of the country, prices have come up beyond the 2007 peak, but some places they haven't. So I want to understand maybe, is there equity in the property or not? Question number 3, and this leads on to some extra follow-on questions, is who lives there? Who lives in the property? Now, very often it's the people you're speaking to, they actually live there themselves. And I'd then say, okay, great. Do you have somewhere to move on to already? You see, if they found their dream home that they're looking to buy and they can't move until they sell this one, they might be more flexible on the price. But actually, maybe they haven't found where they want to go to and they want to get a sale agreed, but they want a little bit of time to find the place they're going to move on to. So I really want to dig a bit deeper and find out about their personal circumstances. Then if they say they are looking to move on, I want to know, are you looking to buy or are you looking to rent? Just because someone owns a house right now doesn't necessarily mean they want to buy a new one. Maybe they want to go and check out an area before they buy. Or maybe they've had such a terrible experience as homeowners, they don't want to do that again and they just want to rent. So again, never make any assumptions. You need to ask specific questions. Next question, number 6, is how long, so if you want to know, actually, you want to know if the property is, if they don't live there, if there's tenants there, I want to understand, right, how long have the tenants been there? Okay, because very often it's a landlord who might be selling the property. And again, I want to make sure, are they just short-term tenants who've come in quickly? Are they long-term tenants who are looking after the property? I want to know, next question, number 7, how much rent do they pay? And again, don't assume you know. Very often if you're buying from a landlord, especially if they had tenants there for a long time, they're not charging the full rent. So you need to find out how much are the tenants currently paying and is there a possibility to increase the rent by improving the quality? I also want to know, question number 8, are they up to date with their rent? I don't want to buy a property that's full of tenants who are not paying because I'm just going to inherit that problem from the landlord. And number 9, also about tenants, I want to understand what contract are they on? Ideally, when you buy a property, if you have tenants in place, you want to make sure they're on an AST contract, Assured Short-Term Tenancy Contract. So the next thing I want to understand when I'm looking to buy a property is, question number 10, is it a freehold or a leasehold property? Ideally, I want to buy freehold. If it's a leasehold, it means, well, actually, I'm only buying part of that building because there are other people there who also own other parts, and there's a leaseholder who owns the overall building. So if that's the case, if it's a leasehold, there are some further questions we need to ask. The first one should always be, how long is left on the lease? Now, many leases are 125 or 150 years, and they will start expiring. And the reason we need to know this, if a lease is less than 70 years, it's very difficult to get a mortgage on that property. So the lease would need to be extended. And that's often when you might see a very cheap property is because it's got a short lease. So how long's left on the lease? We want to make sure ideally well over 80 years. The next question I want to ask, number 12, is how much is the service charge and ground rent? Ground rent is an annual fee we pay to the owner. It might be a couple of £100. The service charges are what we pay as our contribution to the communal area cleaning and lighting. It may be the maintenance of the building and the grounds. There might be a sinking fund. If it's a really nice development, there might be a concierge, there might be a gym, swimming pool. All these things need to be paid for and maintained. I've had properties where a service charge is anywhere from £600 a year up to the highest I had was £2,900 a year. That was a very high service charge, and it's because they had some very old-fashioned lifts that were very expensive to maintain. They had lovely gardens, they had a porter, so obviously we had to pay for all of that. So understanding if it is a leasehold property, how much of the service charges is really important, because that will obviously affect the cash flow that you're going to make from this property. And then if there is a short lease, if it's less than 70 years, question number 13, I want to know is, do they know how much it will cost to extend the lease? Now, the owner may or may not know. They may not know because they just haven't inquired, or maybe they do know, and the reason they haven't done it is because they don't have the money to do it. So I just want to understand if they have a ballpark figure. Obviously, you would check that and verify it, but it's a good idea to get a bit of a sense check on it. Question number 14, and this is one you might ask people anyway, but many people don't. I'd say, so why are you selling the property? I want to try and dig down and understand their motivation for getting rid of this particular property. Question 15, kind of linked to that, is are there any timescales you're working to? Now, this is really important because if they've got a deadline they're trying to hit, maybe they're emigrating and they've got their flights booked, or maybe they're starting new work, or they need a bigger house because they've got a new addition to the family. If they're working to a timescale and they're getting close to that timescale, they're going to get more and more motivated, and so maybe flexible on the price or the terms of the sale. So understanding if there are any timescales is a really powerful bit of information for you to have. Question number 16 is, how much do you need for the property? Now remember, I used the word need. I didn't say how much do you want for the property. I said how much do you need? Very often people want to get this for the sale, but actually they could do with this. This is what they need, this is what they want. I want them focusing on the lower figure. How much do they actually need? Now, question number 17 is a bit of a sensitive one, and you have to ask this in a delicate way, and many people don't like asking this, and many people don't like answering this. But if you've built a good rapport with the owner and you've got a bit of a relationship going and you position it in the right way, say, look, I hope don't mind me asking, but is there a mortgage on the property? And if you build a good rapport, they'll probably tell you. They might be a bit skeptical, or why do you need to know that? In which case I'd say, well, look, I'm going to look at various different ways of helping you, and I want to make sure we structure a deal that works for you and works for me, of course. And so I just need to get all the information and make a proposal that's going to work for you. So that's why I kind of need to know that. Now, this next question, number 18, is one of my favorite questions. This is a really good way of you finding out if they would be open to a low offer, or if they would be open to a creative offer, such as a purchase lease option. So here's the question. You say, what's more important to you? So you're trying to get them to make a choice here. What's more important to you? Getting the property sold as fast as possible, so suggesting it's going to be a quick sale, which ultimately suggests you're going to be paying less money for it, or making as much as you possibly can from the property. So let me say that question again. So what's most important to you? Getting the property sold as fast as possible, or making as much money as you can from the property? Now, if they say, well, I need to sell it as quick as possible, it's probably going to be a lower cash offer. If they say, I want to get as much as I possibly can from the property, maybe they don't need the money now, which means actually maybe things like purchase lease option or vendor finance, where we can give them the full market price, maybe that might be a better solution. So this is a great question to get people to open up and start to understand what might be a good solution for the seller. Now, another question, number 19, is a little bit cheeky, but if you do it in a kind of friendly way, a kind of a casual way, they might well answer. What I'd say to someone is, so what are you going to do with the proceeds from the sale? And you're doing it in a very friendly, inquisitive way, not a, so how are you using the money? It's just a bit of a chatty way of a question you're throwing in. They might say, well, actually, we're just going to put it in the bank, which is great because there's loads of things we can do with that. Or they might say, well, yes, I need it because I'm buying another property, or I'm investing in a business, or I'm paying my home loan off. Again, it just helps us understand a bit more about that seller's circumstance. Now, question number 20 is one of my favorite questions. This is a question that has saved me tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds over the time that I've known this. I actually went to a seminar. It wasn't a property seminar, it was a business seminar, and I learnt this question. And I've used it and I've shared it with all my students ever since, and I'm going to share it with you now. This question, by the way, don't storm in straight away with it. You kind of keep this towards the end of the conversation. Again, once you've built some rapport, once you've got all the information, you just throw this question in. And the question is, what's the lowest you will accept and still be happy? What's the lowest you will accept and still be happy? That bit on the end is really important because we want to make it ethical. Remember, I talk about ethical win-win solutions. We want to find a solution that's good for them, but it's also good for us. We want to make money. We're not doing this as a charity, but we want it to work for them. We don't want them to agree to something and then change their mind. So that bit at the end, what's the lowest you'll accept and still be happy, is really, really important. Now, the next question, number 21, this is a great question to ask people when you're doing a viewing around a property. Let's say you've been introduced by an estate agent and you're looking around the property and the owner happens to be there. Very often estate agents don't like you speaking to the owner because they think somehow you're going to try and cut them out. And by the way, we'd never want to do that. If an agent's bought a good deal to me, I want to make sure they get paid their commission because I want them to bring the next deal to me and the next one and the next one. For the sake of a couple of £1,000s, I don't want to cut them out. That agent could be a great source of deals for me. So I always want to look after the agent. But they're sometimes a bit funny and they probably can't give you their client's details because of data protection, those kind of things. But you can ask the client, the seller, directly yourself. And the way you do this is what I call the Columbo moment. So you're kind of just walking out the house and you stop and you turn around. And like Columbo used to say, just one more thing. You know, in the TV show, he always used to kind of solve the murder mystery at that point. You turn around and say, just one more thing. And you look directly at the seller in their eyes with a smile and say, in case I've got any more questions, can I have your phone number, please? And smile. In case I have any more questions, can I have your phone number, please? And guess what? 99% of the time people say, yeah, sure, here you go, and they give you the number. And the agent might be there. You're not even looking at the agent. They're not going to interrupt. They're not going to say anything because they'd look like an idiot if they did. So just ask them. Just be bold, be friendly, be confident, and they will give you their number. And then I would call them later that same day and just say, hi, it's Simon here, obviously your name. And I just want to say thank you so much for showing me around the property. I'm interested in the property. I've just got these extra questions. And then anything you forgot to ask when you're going around or anything you've missed, you can call them. And you can start a relationship with them. You can start seeing what kind of things might work for them. So that's question 21. And then a final question, question 22. If you use this particular question, I promise you, you will do more deals if you consistently use this question. And so anybody you meet and you're looking at one of their properties, you have to ask this question. You say, out of interest, and this is right at the end of the conversation, out of interest, do you have any other properties? Because the property you're looking at and talking about, it may or may not be a deal, but they might have other properties that are a deal and can work for you. So ask that question. I'm always telling my mastermind students to try to drum it into their head to ask that question. I promise you, you'll do more deals as a result of that. So I really do hope you found those questions useful. You might want to watch this video again and write those questions down. If you liked it, do me a favor, please smash the like button. Put a comment about what you particularly enjoyed. That would be great for me to see, to get some feedback. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you're not a subscriber already, click the subscribe button because otherwise you might miss valuable videos like this. Now, if you want to learn more about actually finding the deals, because these are questions to ask once you've got a deal. If you want to know more about finding the deal, well, in the description description below, there's a link to some training I'm doing where it talks about how do you actually find great deals in the first place. It's completely free training, so why not come and register right now for that free training, and I'll talk to you about how you can actually find great deals in the first place, and then you already know the questions you can ask the seller to try and find the best win-win ethical deal. So my name's Simon Zutshi. Thanks for watching the video. I look forward to sharing more with you on my YouTube channel. Invest with knowledge, invest with skill.